My name is Bill Hager. I'm the site director here at St. Louis Child Development in Biddeford, Maine. And we'd like to have you come in and take a tour and see what the kids see when they come every day. One of the ways we're really fortunate with this building is that we do have a number of different classrooms, each of which can be modified to specifically reflect the age ranges of the kids using that classroom. We also have 4 separate playgrounds that are accessible from inside the classrooms and then can be modified again to reflect the developmental ages of the kids using them. Some time back, there was a number of studies done that showed that there were certain forms of play that are universal pretty much across all cultures, regardless of the where or the when. Things like playing house, pretending you're at home, is one of those forms of play that happens pretty much in every culture. Similarly, every culture plays ball of some sort. Every culture has some form of you chase me, I'll chase you. And as I said before, every culture has some form of playing house. So denying the kids that kind of play would be antithetical. The human condition in the first 5 years is so interconnected that if you fail in one area, then all areas are delayed. So if you aren't able to run and jump and play large motor, your cognitive is also held down. So if you just did what would consider to be pure preschool readiness or school readiness, the child won't succeed anyways. It's ironic that if you just focus on numbers and letters without everything else, the child won't succeed. We've tried to keep some of this in mind as we've developed our classrooms and our curriculum. So when we do the tour of the building, you'll be seeing some real consistencies in what's being offered to different age ranges of kids so that we can apply this science to our day-to-day work. As we tour the program, one theme that will reoccur is our need to find balance in the classroom setting. And the reason for this lies in another really exciting bit of science. What we now understand about brain development, especially in the first 5 years of life, is that the different learning centers of the brain are fully interconnected, and that each of those areas, large motor, small motor, social, emotional, cognitive, is tied to all the other areas. So in simple terms, if you want your kid to develop cognitive skills, letters, numbers, arithmetic, reading, you'll also need to provide opportunities for the child to run, to jump, to climb, to do puzzles, to build with blocks, to pretend, to be with other kids, and to play. Each of our classrooms aims to provide these various learning activities, but in a way that's developmentally appropriate for each of our specific age ranges. Now, this is our infant room. We take kids here from 6 weeks up to a year, or from developmentally from babies up to walking. We have a ratio of 4 kids to 1 adult in this room. Though the world may see them as being blank slates, there's a tremendous amount of brain development going on. So we're going to find the exact right balance between stimulus and nurturing. If we get that balance right, there's very little crying. People always are frightened around infants and toddlers. They're crying all the time, but if you're meeting their needs and keeping them stimulated and it's a relaxed and peaceful place, they're just fine. This is our younger toddler rooms. We ages from about 1 to 2 developmentally, from walking to talking, we'll say. We have a ratio of 5 kids to 1 adult, and we try to keep everything developmentally appropriate. Part of that is that you'll see less stuff in here because these are toddlers, they're toddling. So the fewer obstructions they have while they're developing those large motor skills, the safer it will be, and the more they'll learn. If you do your large motor skill stuff, the actual cognitive ability follows. Kids who don't have a chance to toddle, as we say, have a much more difficult time when it comes to developing the cognitive abilities we think of as being important for preschool learning. Now this is our older toddler room. It's 2-year-olds, 2 to 2.5. We figure this is from walking, talking, and up until they're through parallel play. We still have 5 kids to 1 teacher in this age room, so it's kind of small still. But as you can see, there are more things here. It's more interactive. We're doing more fine motor. We're doing more creative play. They're doing more walking. They're doing more talking. They're not really interacting with each other the way you would think they would as when they get older. But they're still exploring the world in a more in-depth way than the younger kids. So there's more manipulatives. It's more hands-on. They're beginning to do imaginative play. They pretend. The roots of pretending is the roots of creativity. So at this age, having a chance to do that's really important. This would be our 2.5-year-old room. Now, the world often sees this age range as the terrible twos, and it's not that they're terrible at all. They're just really energetic, growing a mile a minute, discovering things every day, all of which is cool and all of which is what we want to see. So we step things up here again. We have 7-to-1 ratio, 7 kids to 1 teacher, but more teacher-led activities, more manipulative play, more imaginative play. And at this age, they can start understanding things like a dinosaur is different than a car is different than a dog, and a book has pictures, but I recognize there's a story there. So we have lots more hands-on activities. We do have a lot of art activities because the kids can do that now. We also have a place where the kids can sit for a quiet time, because even at this age, at 2.5, kids can understand that they may need a quiet time. And if they can understand that at this age and make it available, it's a real tool for helping them understand that going forward. This would be our 3-year-old room. Now, we increase the size intentionally at this point. We have a 10-to-1 ratio, 10 kids per adult, with at least 10 kids here, because this is an age where they're learning to interact. They now say, you're my friend, I'm your friend, let's play together. They look forward to seeing each other. They look forward to understanding that their friend is going to be here today. This is also the age when you start developing a sense of what is community, and we want to make sure the kids have an opportunity to learn that along with their letters, numbers, and other skills. This is our 4-year-old room, also known as our pre-K room, and this is primarily for kids who are 4 years old and going to be going to kindergarten next year. We want to set this room up in a way that will look a lot like kindergarten so the kids can be comfortable in that environment. So a lot of reading, a lot of storytelling, a lot of connecting words, word sounds, and concepts to words. Knowing that a boat is a boat, and knowing that there's a word for boat, and knowing that you can spell out a word that says boat, that's the kind of learning that happens here. And that's the kind of learning that really preps the kids for public school so much better. We also will have 10 kids in this room. 10-to-1 ratio. Right now we're going 10. So this is the space we use for our after-school program. It's a place for school-age kids to be when school's not in session. Before and after school holidays, vacation weeks, we have a 13 kid to 1 adult ratio. And we try to balance this program between giving kids the supports they need for their academics, at the same time being sure we give them a chance to be kids and giving them a chance to do something other than academics for some part of the day. This year in particular, on remote learning days, we've also set up a learning lab for the kids to do remote learning, so they don't miss that because mom's got to work. There's some kids who started here as infants and are still here at 7 years old. And that's a joy to be able to have that kind of continuity and that kind of presence in a kid's life. There are public pre-K programs through the schools, which are fine, except that it doesn't accommodate the working family. So, for what it's worth, we see ourselves, we self-define both as early childhood educator and parent support professionals, because everybody works. They work if there's a pandemic, they work if there's not a pandemic. The economics are such that everyone's going to work. And if you have a small child who's ready for a pre-K program and it's only available 3.5 hours a day, 4 hours a day, even 5, that still isn't going to work for you to be able to maintain employment. And making sure parents have the supports they need, both emotionally, socially, and economically, is a large chunk of what we do. It's a large piece of what we want to do. That's St. Louis, and I'm glad we had a chance to show it off. As the old Irish proverb goes, we are cursed to live in interesting times. And the COVID-19 era is what we are dealing with at this very moment when we're recording this piece. So we are really lucky here at St. Louis that the building is as new and as fresh as it is. Our procedures, though, we have numerous procedures in place, including when the kids are dropped off. The parents never have come into the building. So what they do is they will come into the front. We will take temperatures of the kids. We will screen the kids to make sure they haven't been exposed to risk, like traveling out of state or having visitors from out of state. So they have to attest that they have not engaged in anything that could put the child in danger of COVID. The parents will then come around the building and drop the kids off at the classroom door without having to come through the building. So we never have people lined up in the building. We have increased our cleaning capacity dramatically, and we take every person in the building, child and staff, we take the temperature 3 times a day. We chose to reopen even during COVID because the economic pressures on parents had become prohibitive. And the longer we stayed empty, the longer parents were forced to be unemployed. And our population just could not absorb that any longer. So we're taking every precaution we can, both in terms of the cleaning, but also in terms of our policies and practices, our interactions. The classrooms are kept quite isolated, so the classrooms you walk through, the 2-year-olds never hang out with the 3-year-olds, who never hang out with the 4-year-olds, who never hang out with the 6 and 7-year-olds. So if we were to have something happen in one of those classrooms, we would not endanger the entire building. So we continue to look for ways to ensure the safety of the children and the staff who are here. And hopefully that will be sufficient to allow us to continue to serve in spite of the disease.